Alright, so today we're going to be talking about how to convert standard to intercept and intercept to standard. So when we're going from these two different forms, we're going to be talking about a couple different things, but it's things that we've done in the past, so we should be very familiar with how we work these. So let's start with example 1, and we'll talk about, first off, standard to intercept. So a standard problem, let's just keep it simple here for the first problem. Let's do y equals, make sure you're writing this down, y equals x squared plus 3x plus 2. That's a pretty simple problem, pretty easy to work here. Y equals x squared plus 3x plus 2. Now, if I want to go from the standard form, and let's kind of review this. Standard form is going to be, and we talked about it yesterday, but standard form is going to be when we have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Intercept form is going to be whenever we have y equals a parentheses x minus p parentheses x minus q. And if you think about it, with standard form, we've talked about how to go from standard to intercept before. And we know that how we get from standard to intercept is by using a thing that we call the diamond method. Does everybody remember the diamond method? Okay. So that's really all this is. It's very simple. So if you recall, here we're going from standard to intercept. So if we're going from standard to intercept, we're going to take what we have up here, and first off, we're going to label A, B, and C. So here, A is equal to what? 1. B is equal to 3. And C is equal to 2. So to do our diamond method, we're going to start with our X puzzle. So the X puzzle here we know is going to be A is 1, C is 2. So we're going to say A times C, which is 1 times 2. And that's going to give me 2. The bottom number is going to be B, and that B value it says is equal to 3. So we'll substitute in a 3 for B. Now the puzzle becomes what two numbers multiply to give you 2, but add to give you 3. So can anybody think of two numbers that multiply to give you 2, add to give you 3?
2 and 1.
2 and 1. 1 and 2, right? So 2 and 1. Alright, so once we know those numbers, we then want to go back to our A value, which here the A value is 1. And we're going to take that A value and put an X beside it and write it on top of those numbers. So we put a 1X on top, a 1X on top, and then we want to see if it'll simplify. So can we simplify a fraction 1 over 2? No. 1 over 2 is as simplified as it could possibly be. Can we simplify 1 over 1 and still leave it as a fraction? We don't want to simplify. We want to leave it as a fraction, right? So is this still a fraction? Right now it is. So can we simplify it down to anything else that's still a fraction? No. So that's as simple as it gets. So when we write this, we're going to start with this one here. That's going to be x plus 2. And we know it's x plus 2 because its bottom 2 is a positive 2. And then the other one on this one is going to be x plus 1 because it's positive 1. So x plus 1. Now, as far as we're working here, we need the A value is 1. All right, so we're good with that. So we can just leave the A value blank here. And then that would be the intercept form for this problem. So through those steps, we've identified the intercept form just simply by factoring using the diamond method. Super easy, right? All right, so take a second. If you need to pause the video and write this down, go ahead and do so, and then we'll move into example 2. So now that we're finished with example 2, I want you to go ahead and attempt to do now that we're finished with example 1, I want us to go ahead and attempt to do example 2. So in example 2, you're going to notice that these numbers, -2, 12, and -10, can actually all be divided by a certain number. What number is that going to be divided by here?
2.
Not just 2.
I mean 4.
-2, right? We want to go ahead and get that negative off of it. So I'm going to let you go ahead and try to work this one out. But before you do anything to the problem, go ahead and see if you can divide everything by -2, then use the diamond method to solve. Alright, so on this problem, the first thing we went through and said we needed to do was divide everything by -2. So if we take this y equals and divide it by -2, then what we're going to get is -2 divided by -2 is going to equal what? positive 1. So we're going to get 1x squared. Next, we'll divide the 12 by negative 2. So 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6x. And then negative 10 divided by negative 2, that's going to be positive 5. So it kind of simplifies everything down to make the problem a little bit easier for us. Now, once we're to this point, we want to go ahead and box this negative 2 up because we're going to need it at the end. But then the rest of this we can go ahead and factor using the diamond method. So here we can identify that a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 6, and c is equal to 5. So in the diamond method, we know that the top is going to be a times c, the bottom is going to be b. So a times c here is 1 times 5, which is 5, and b is going to be negative 6. So what two numbers will multiply to give me 5, but add together to give me a negative 6? All right, negative 5 and negative 1. So from here we can take a value, which is 1, and put a 1x on top. And then just see if this simplifies. So will 1x over negative 5 simplify? No. Will 1 over negative 1 simplify? No. So since those will not simplify, I can go ahead and write them out. So here I'm going to have y equals, don't forget about my negative 2 up here. So that's going to be negative 2, parentheses. This is going to be x minus 5. And then on this one, I'm going to have x minus 1. So when I circle my answer, I have my final answer. So really simple with these problems. Everything's going to be diamond method when we're working with the problems that we have here. So take a second. If you need to pause the video and ask questions, or if you need to just write it down, go ahead and pause the video and finish writing it down. All right, so in this problem, in example 3, we're going to switch from going standard to intercept, and now we're going to go intercept to standard. So now you can see that we have two binomials. We have x minus p and x minus q. So now we're dealing with two binomials. So now we want to go from intercept to standard. So to get this out to standard, it's a really, really simple process. All we're going to do is do the box strategy. So we take our box, and we're going to write in x and negative 4. On the side, we're going to write in x and positive 3, and then just multiply everything out. So what's x times x? X squared. What's x times negative 4? Negative 4x. And then x times positive 3? 3x. And then we've got 3 times negative 4, which is negative 12. So then all we need to do is just combine everything in there, and we'll have our answer. So here we've got x squared. We've got a negative 4 plus 3, and they're both x's, so we can combine them. So what's negative 4 plus 3? Negative 1x. And then we have this negative 12, so we're going to write minus 12 on the end. Everything's in standard form, so there's our final answer. That's all there is to it. Very easy. All right, so make sure you take a second, write it down. If you have a question about it, let me know. But keep in mind, this is just using the box strategy. We could also use FOIL if we had wanted to. With FOIL, we would just take first times first, outside times outside, inside times inside, and last times last. So remember, we can also use FOIL to solve this if we choose to. But just pick a method, whichever one works best for you, and solve it. All right, so in example 4, go ahead and see if you can work this problem. I'll give you a few minutes to do so. Just pause the video so that you can work it out, and then when you're finished working it out, check your answer by completing the video. All right, so example 4, once again, you could use box strategy on this one, or you could use FOIL. I'm going to do FOIL this time since I did box last time. So here to FOIL this, I'm going to start and go x times x. That's going to give me x squared. I've got x times 4, which is going to be 4x. I've got negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x. And then I've got negative 2 times 4, which is going to be negative 8. And that's going to be multiplied all by negative 2. Now, before I multiply that negative 2, I want to go ahead and I want to combine my middle two terms here. So that's going to be x squared. 4x minus 2x is going to be 2x. And then that's minus 8 on the end. So now, once I get to this point, since I have an a value out in front, I want to go ahead and distribute that throughout the parentheses to get it to the simplest standard form possible. So negative 2 times x squared is going to be negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times 2x is going to be negative 4x. And then negative 2 times negative 8 is going to be positive 16. So when I finish, I will have my problem written in standard form, and I'll have everything taken care of that I need to in the problem. So examples 1 and 2 today, we talked a lot about standard to intercept. Talked about how we use the diamond method. But then intercept to standard, which was examples 3 and 4, we talked about how we could distribute to get those problems back out to the standard form. Keep in mind, you may want to write this down as well. Keep in mind that intercept and vertex forms can only go to standard form. But standard form actually can work either way and go to vertex form if we need it to, or it can go to intercept form. So always make sure and check to see what the problem's asking you to do whenever you're working these problems out. Alright, let me know if you have any questions. If you need to rewatch the video, feel free to. But then you'll start working on your homework. I think you've got problems 1 through 16. Part of them will be intercept to standard. The other part will be standard to intercept.